It's me, it's the MIC, Craig, aka Mr. Impact, here with another special edition of TBN Chats. No Peter Nixon this time, but I'm honored to be joined by our next guest, one of the fastest rising stars of British wrestling right now. It's Leon Slater. Leon, how's it going?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm glad to be here.
I appreciate you coming on. It's always fun time when we get to chat with people involved in British wrestling and just get a different perspective from each guest we get on. So I'm excited to chat with you. And I guess we'll jump right in with my first question is, how did you first discover wrestling? Like, were you just scrolling through TV and it came about, or did you go to a show? How did you first become a fan of wrestling, would you say?
So how I got into wrestling was my cousin used to live next door to us, my older cousin, and I used to go over to his house quite a lot. And my first introduction to wrestling was actually like the video games on his like PS2, I think it was at the time. So I used to go over to his house and watch him play like the SmackDown versus Raw 2007 it was. And then obviously when I got a bit older, I started playing with him. So the first one I played was the 2008 one, actually, the one after that. And then I just became obsessed with it after that. And then like obviously he got older, and like most people do, he grew out of wrestling. So I got all his hand-me-downs and stuff like that. So I got all his figures, I got like the toy belts, I got the games, I got everything, man. So yeah, and that was super early on. Like I can't really remember a time where wrestling wasn't my thing. Like it wasn't the thing that I wanted to do, if you know what I mean. So yeah, man, I've been a lifelong fan, to say the least.
Yeah, that's SmackDown vs. Raw games were great.
The best.
In particular for me, it's 2011. That was one of the very best. The Road to WrestleMania.
Yeah, man.
It's great. So, as a wrestling fan, was there one wrestler in particular that you idolized and like wanted to reach the same level they were at? Was there a few or one in particular? How did that go?
So if I had to needle it down to one, then it probably would be Jeff Hardy. Like he's always the person that I look to, and he was like my guy when I was growing up, for sure, and he still is one of my favorites. But if I had to pick a few, my top three is my usual top three that I go to, but again it switches all the time. Like when I go back and watch all the stuff, I'm like, man, some of these guys were wicked. But my usual top three is Jeff Hardy, Rob Van Dam, and Shelton Benjamin. And I think you can kind of see the influence there in like the way I wrestle now and stuff like that. But yeah, they were my guys.
Yeah, three incredible wrestlers, and Shelton Benjamin, very underrated.
Yeah, one of the most underrated ever, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's fantastic. So, with like Jeff Hardy and stuff, like, would that have been like when you first started watching wrestling? Would it have been like TNA Jeff Hardy, or was it like old WWE clips and stuff?
So what got me into Jeff Hardy originally was like, I think in fact one of the hand-me-downs was like this ladder match compilation DVD that WWE did, and it was just like a 3-hour compilation of like ladder matches from like early 2000s, late 90s and stuff like that. And obviously Jeff Hardy was on a lot of those. So like that's what first got me into it, and then from there I'd like go on YouTube and stuff, and I'd find his like more recent stuff, like the TNA stuff, and like his TNA heel stuff is like it's so wicked, man. Like that era of Jeff Hardy is just so cool in my opinion. But yeah, like from that ladder match DVD, I kind of delved deeper into the rest of his stuff, and yeah, man, he's the GOAT. He's the GOAT.
Yeah, I've always been a big Jeff Hardy guy, particularly during TNA.
Yeah,
like the 2012 when he won the world title. That was when I started. That's where I consider myself becoming a proper wrestling fan from that time. So it's always, it was incredible. So going from watching Jeff Hardy and playing the games, how did you discover that you could become a wrestler? Like, did you see like something online? How did you find out you could train and become a wrestler?
So obviously, like I was saying, it's like wrestling's always something that I've wanted to do. So I'd always be looking for wrestling schools, like in my area and stuff like that. But the majority of them, you had to be 16 or like 14 years old. like to sign up and join and become a trainee and stuff like that. And at the time I was like 9-10 years old looking for training schools, and I came across this one which was in, I believe it was in Wakefield at the time, called a UKW. And like the age limit, there was no age limit, you know what I mean? So that's where I went down, and that's where I kind of got the foundations laid out at UKW.
And you were trained by Liam Slater, I believe.
Yeah. So Liam is like kind of a recent addition to my training. So Pursuit Pro Wrestling in Sheffield, where I train now, has been open. We've been open for like a year and a bit now. And that's where Liam's kind of taken over my training more full time. But like he'd like in the later days of UKW, like just before COVID and stuff hit, he'd pop in like on the Saturday sessions and like help out and stuff like that. Like he wasn't the main trainer, but he kind of was the main trainer, if you know what I mean. So yeah, Liam's had he made me the wrestler that I am today, 100%.
So, you know, as from training and to the year you're having right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever think that that could be a possibility when you like first get into step into a ring? Do you ever think that this would be happening, that you'd be taking part in that in a natural progression? You'd be in Rev Pro and heading to GCW and everything going on. Would you ever think that could have been a possibility for you when you first stepped into the ring?
It's crazy, man. So like, because I was so young, like when I started training, my wrestling brain was, it's WWE or TNA. And that was like, I didn't even know wrestling existed outside of that. And obviously as I've grown up, I found more independent wrestling and stuff like that. So when I became aware of like Progress and like GCW and Rev Pro and all the stuff that's going on like in Britain, it was definitely something that I figured I would be doing one day, but I had no clue. Like if you told me at this time last year, like all the stuff that I've done and I'm going to do for the rest of the year, like I wouldn't believe you. I'd call you a liar, because the way that things have happened this year is just absolutely mental. So it's something I've always wanted to do, and I've always had that kind of self-belief that I will do this at one point, but I would have never ever been able to like guess how quickly and how fast it's come about. Nowhere.
It's been a hell of a year for you. I was managed to catch your match at Wrestle Carnival against Robbie X.
Oh, wicked, man! Yeah,
I was front row for that, and it was Robbie X is phenomenal.
Yeah. Robbie is one of my absolute favorite people to wrestle. He is the best cruiserweight in the world. Like he says it and he means it, man. He is one of the best, 100%.
And you know, that was my first exposure to you as a wrestler, and you blew me away. Honestly, it was like I'd heard the name, but I'd never seen you like in action.
Yeah.
And wow, and to see that you're heading to GCW on the November 20th. Yeah. How did that come about, and how did who contacted you to tell you to invite you to come to GCW, and what was your reaction when you got that, when they contacted you to come over to GCW?
Yeah, so I guess it kind of all started from that weekend where GCW and TNT had them kind of weekend of collab shows. So I went down on the Thursday for like the TNT only show. I think that was on a Thursday, to watch Dan and Dereiss like have their matches, because I think Dereiss was wrestling Matt Cardona that day. So I went down to go support them. And obviously I was chilling out backstage and that. And Tony Deppen, who had seen me wrestle Speedball at Rev Pro in York Hall, he was there, and he was like to Brett, the guy that runs GCW, he was like, Brett, we've got to get this guy on tomorrow, man. He's wicked. So luckily Tony Deppen, all credit to him, man. He managed to get me a spot in that four-way on the next day. And then obviously the four-way happened, that my spot of the corner dive straight into the continent to continent, and as we call it, the big coast to coast across the ring, kind of blew up on Twitter. And from there, Brett Lauderdale, the guy that runs GCW, he was kind of messaging me, keeping in touch for a few weeks after. And then it was like maybe last week, the week before, like maybe 2 weeks ago now, he just messaged me and he was like, what are you doing this weekend in November? you want to come over to GCW? And I was like, of course, yes, I want to come over to GCW. So it came about real quick, to be fair. Like he messaged me in like the afternoon, and it was already announced by the evening. So like I didn't really have time to like get excited or get hyped, just because everything was moving so fast. But now it's kind of set in, like, that I am going to America, which again has been like a lifelong dream, just to go to, like, not even to wrestle, just to go to America. And now I'm being flown out to wrestle. You know what I mean? So it's very surreal, to say the least. Like I said, it's similar to the situation with all the British stuff. Like, I imagined I would be doing it at one point, but never would I imagine that it would be like in the fashion that it's happening.
Yeah, it's all come along, but it, you know, I say GCW, they are one of the biggest promotions independent promotions in the world.
Yeah, 100%.
So being a part of that must be mind blowing, especially when you look at the card you're going to be on. Like Jonathan Gresham, Matt Cardona. Like, obviously, imagine you've met both those before, but to go and be on pay-per-view as well, like that's it's got to be another level to just where you thought you'd be. So back to the amount of incredible matches you've had. You know, you've had matches with Chris Ridgway, Robbie X, Beeble, I believe you faced Leo Rush. You know, what's been the whether at the start of your training or in the last few months, what's been the biggest or best piece of advice you've been given from someone, and that you've taken on, and it's something you'll carry with you for the remainder of your career? Is there one piece of advice you can pick out, or a couple of pieces?
That's a tough question, because like I'm around a lot of wise people now, so I get a lot of good advice. But you know what? One piece of advice that actually has stuck with me, and I try to keep in mind a lot, is when I first started training at Pursuit, and I was trying to be like, I was just wrestling, you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't a wrestler. I didn't really have much to me. I didn't really have a character or a gimmick or anything. And Liam pulled me aside, and he was like, the more of the real you that you can portray into your wrestling, the better. And ever since he's told me that, I've tried to just be more me in the ring. You know what I mean? Like, be more relaxed, be more natural, and stuff like that. So that's something that pops into my head immediately when you ask that question. But yeah, man, I've had lots of, like I said, I've been around lots of clever and wise people, so I'm getting real good advice all the time. Another one would be, I think from the first time I met Dan Maloney up in Prime Wrestling in Newcastle, he just told me after he watched me, you need to train as many places as you can and go to as many shows as you can. And I think that stands true for everyone, because a lot of my success, I guess we'll call it, this year has been from being in the right place at the right time, or just going to shows just to show face and help out and stuff like that. So that's another real solid piece of advice. So them two are the first things that come to mind for sure. But like I say, I'm getting like mind-blowing advice every weekend now, just because of the people I'm around.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's been like I said, it's been one hell of a year, and I'll talk about it becoming the North Tag Team Champions with Dereiss. What's teaming with Dereiss like? I imagine it's just fun.
Yeah.
I've seen him in the ring. What's teaming with Man Like Dereiss like?
Honestly, it's like whenever we get announced for like a new tag match, every time it's one of my like the matches that I look forward to the most, because like you said, it is just so fun. Like, and the way that me and Dereiss came about was pretty odd as well. Like, we were never meant to be a tag team. So North was having this tag team tournament, and unfortunately Visage, who was meant to be Dereiss's tag partner, had to pull out, and like comes back to the right time, right place thing. I was on the pre-show that day, and people were scarping around, like asking for people who could tag with Dereiss, and so there was a big like search for the partner, and I ended up being the person that he chose. And as soon as we did that first entrance, and we wrestled Lycos and Gene Money, like the chemistry was immediately there, and we just kind of took off from there, and it leaded to us winning the tag team championships at North. And now, like I said, every time I tag with him, it's the most fun matches that I have. And we got some big stuff coming up. I can't say too much yet, but we got some big stuff coming up for sure, man. It's going to be a blast.
I believe you're going to be Wrestle Carnival champions in Basin Dereiss.
Yeah,
that's the Carnival Championship. Yeah, I'm looking to get tickets for that, so I'm definitely going to try and get tickets for that, because yes, it would be a banger. And obviously, you've mentioned most people you faced, which some of the top talent in the world. Is there anyone still on your list of people to work with, like, and if you want to just like drop a few names and just put it out there, who'll be at the top of your list, for instance?
So at the top of my list at the moment is Nick Wayne, of course. I feel like that's a match that's got to happen at some point, and maybe it'll happen when I'm over in the States, who knows. But yeah, we're like the two young guys in the world of wrestling right now, kind of blowing up. So I feel like that's a match that's got to happen at some point. So I'd say he's at the top of my list right now. Swerve Strickland is another big one. Like, he's someone that I look to for like inspiration and stuff. Like, I really like his style and the way he wrestles, and I just think he's wicked. And another big one for me is Will Ospreay, as I think everyone's got Will on the top of their list, but he's another big one for me as like someone that I've looked to for like inspiration and style. And like when he started blowing up in like 2016, 17, and then with the Ricochet, that kind of spurred me on to kind of wrestle the style that I wrestle now. So Will would be another big one, but those are my main three right now for sure.
I mean, every match you described as a banger. It's and with Will Ospreay, obviously, he started on the UK scene when it was kind of fluctuating. It was a bit up and down, but he managed to find his niche with matches against like Ricochet, and now he's in New Japan. He's a former IWGP Heavyweight Champion, currently IWGP United States Champion. Do you think Will Ospreay doing what he's doing is setting another path for the British wrestlers currently on the scene? Because obviously, he's showing that WWE doesn't have to be the be all and end all, because he's still, competing for Rev Pro, but he's also like one of the biggest names in New Japan at the minute, and got one of the biggest factions in the United Empire. Would you say that path Will Ospreay has created is still there for other British wrestlers to follow that path?
100%. Like, and it's not just him on his own. Like, obviously he is one of the main people for sure, but like the whole like kind of previous generation, they've left like a lot of paths to be followed, you know what I mean? So like Pete Dunne, he's gone off and he's on SmackDown every week now, you know what I mean? And Zack Sabre Jr., he's also in New Japan, and like we said, like Will is one of the top wrestlers in the world right now. So that whole generation, and especially Will, is like kind of laid the groundwork for this generation to set our goals to work towards.
Yeah, it's British wrestling is some of the best wrestlers in the world are on the British wrestling scene right now. I think you agree. It's the scene, obviously, for many years it's fluctuated, it's gone up and down. But do you feel as someone inside of looking out that the scene is approaching another peak, or has reached another peak of how good scene can be?
Yeah, 100%, man. Like, I feel like we could even be in that peak right now, and I don't want to call it a peak, because usually after a peak there's a come down, but I don't think we're coming down anytime soon, to be honest. Like, people are on shows every weekend. Like, the scene is popping, and there is bangers happening. There's super fights happening weekly. You know what I mean? Like, it's not strange for someone to have like a Friday, a Thursday, a Friday, a Saturday, a Sunday, like full. You know what I mean? And like the talent that we have at the moment is unbelievable. And I feel as the year progresses, the depth of the talent is getting even better. Because for a while, I feel like there was the top guys that were kind of around before and that were established, and then there was the new guys, and there was no in between. But now I feel like people are growing up into that in between level, and more people are becoming top guys, and there's even more new guys coming through. So I feel like the depth of our kind of roster, I guess you'll call it, is growing like even deeper by the week, literally.
Yeah. So would you say it's hit since post-pandemic, has there been a rejuvenation of British wrestling? Do you think it's people appreciate it more now after 2-3 years of it being closed away from everyone? Do you think there's a new appreciation of British wrestling from the fans and from people involved in the shows?
To be honest, I'm not quite sure if it's an appreciation. I think people definitely respect what we do more because of like the COVID and stuff like that. But I still often see like there was a thing that blew up recently on Twitter about someone complaining that there's no like stars in British wrestling anymore, and like comparing it to like 2016, 17. And me personally, I wasn't like too hip to the British scene around them times. Like I was aware of what was going on, but I wasn't involved like I am now. You know what I mean? So from my perspective, it seems like we are starting to get that appreciation now, and people are like, damn, these guys are as good, if not better, than the previous generation. But it definitely feels like we're getting to that point now. And yeah, man, I think the comparisons between like kind of this generation and the last one is always going to happen. But we have guys and girls like working every single week to try and top the previous generation. And like I said, I feel like we are getting that respect and appreciation now for sure.
Yeah, it's like I say, obviously it took a quite a hit during COVID with multiple things happening. But this is in this last year, I've probably attended more shows of British wrestling than I have ever. It's been just incredible to watch because some of the best wrestlers in the world are on the UK scene, and you can list as many as you want. There's every name you list, they're going to have a banger and have such a great character match, everything in that show. So we'll finish on this because I like to get different perspectives on different answers. But in the next 3 years, obviously, you've had it's an incredible year as it is. Facing the likes of people like Bailey, Chris Ridgway, Robbie X, and just name a few. In the next 3 years, where do you want to be, whether it be personally or professionally? What is in the next 3 years for Leon Slater?
Honestly, I have no clue. Because if you'd asked me this question last year, where do you think I'd be in 3 years? I'd probably say, I think I'd be on Progress by that point. I think maybe I'll start getting on Progress and Rev Pro by that point. And look how this year's gone. So honestly, there's no telling what the future holds. But goals wise, I'd like to go out to the States a lot more in the coming years and spend some time there for sure. And Japan is another goal of mine, and I'd like to go and do some stuff out in Japan. And to be honest, just making my name bigger worldwide. Like I feel like I'm kind of getting established in the British scene right now, and I want that impact to be kind of recreated in the States and in Japan and even like Mexico or something like that. So I want to travel the world, man. I want to see things, and I want to wrestle different people from different scenes and like get different experiences and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm just gonna see where like the crazy ride I'm on takes me, but I definitely want to travel more and become like a more worldwide name, I guess we'll call it for sure.
Is there like any specific promotions that you haven't been to yet that's on your list, or is it just anywhere and everywhere?
To be fair, bro, it's everywhere and anywhere because I made a list at the start of this year of the promotions I'd like want to work towards and want to get checked off, and I've checked them all off. Like I think it was Progress, Rev Pro, TNT, there was a few others, and GCW was the big one, and I've completed it all. So I don't know what goals there is left to set apart from to grow in what I'm already doing. And obviously I would like to get signed at some point, but I'm not putting a time limit on it. I want to enjoy my time on the independence and kind of just live it up, and then I'll get signed when I get signed. But yeah, man, there's lots of goals to be set, and there's lots of wrestlers to be wrestled. You know what I mean? So I'm just, like I said, I'm just going to see where this ride takes me.
Yeah, it's still very early in your career, and there's so many promotions out there, and it's getting signed. It's obviously having that contract is great, having being fixed to one place, the guarantees that gives. But the UK, the wrestling scene as a whole is on fire, and there's so many. It's been proven that you can make money. You can make that rise as an independent wrestler. So obviously being signed is great, but is that how you feel, that you, even if that contract takes years to come, you have this UK scene, you have the wrestling scene to make your name, to get the recognition that you deserve and you've earned? Is that how you feel?
Yeah, 100%. Like the wrestling world outside of like the big promotions like AEW and WWE and stuff like that is massive. So there is plenty space to like make a name for yourself and stuff like that. And like, I think I will always come back to the British scene, because this is the place that made me. This is where I'm from. And as far as I go, like as much as I do in wrestling, I'm always going to try and come back to the British scene 100% and try and give back to what made me what I am. So yeah, man, I'm excited for the future. I'm excited for what the future holds.
And I'm excited to be a fan and enjoy it for you, because it's been one hell of a year for you. And
yes, sir.
And now, I've definitely got to be checking out GCW. Has your opponent been revealed yet, or do you know who you're facing?
Honestly, I have no clue, man. I have no clue. I'll find out when you do, I think. So that's something to be found out.
Well, I'm excited to see it, and I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
No problem, man.
It's all about getting more eyes on British wrestling, British wrestlers, and I really appreciate it coming on, because since I caught a match at Progress in Birmingham on the WWE Network, I wanted to get you on, so I'm glad we can make this happen. Appreciate taking time. If we head off, I'll let everyone know where they can find you on social media, etc., and where they can see you in the coming months.
Yes, sir. So on the Instagram, I am official 0.01. On the Twitter, I am official 0_01. You can buy the new Not From Here tee on official001.bigcartel.com, and I'm Leon Slater on YouTube. And this upcoming weekend, I'll be at True Grit in Leeds, November 4th. It's me and my boy Jet Marshall versus the boys from Crash Boat. And then November 6th, I'll be at the 229 for Rev Pro.
All right, there you have it. Of course, go check out every episode of TBN Chats with the likes of Lizzie Evo, Charlie Morgan. Coming soon, maybe it's out when this airs, but Zach Knight, Zach Zodiac will also be coming up. So go check out those. Of course, follow Leon. Follow us here at everywhere: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Spotify. You know the deal by now. I've been at MRC. This has been Leon Slater. This has been TBN Chats. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.